Okay, hello guys. Okay, sorry for being late for some minutes. Sorry. Um, is the video and audio okay? Is it okay for the video and audio? Can you see me and hear me clearly? Yes, good. Thanks a lot. Good morning. Sorry for being late. Today I'm going to continue our discussion on Roland Barthes and finish and wrap up his ideas in the first half of the lesson. Okay. I realized I haven't uploaded the looks onto Moodle, but I'm going to do it right. Uh, but I can't log into the Moodle account right now. So let me see what happened. But anyway, I will try again. But let's start first. So okay. So okay, last week we are talking about what Roland Barthes' idea about concerning how actually meaning is constructed. Okay, it's a very important topic because um the skills used by Barthes can be usually and easily applied to textual analysis. Um, what do we mean by textual analysis? It means that we can use his idea to analyze some kind of text. And text is not limited to those, for example, articles using words. Okay, text in cultural studies is something wider. It concerns all the stuff that has meaning. Okay, everything that has meaning is a text in a sense. So it's an invited use of the concept of text, and Bart's idea can use to analyze how the meaning of a particular text is constructed. Okay, last week we talked about uh, some examples. Okay, for example, the very famous examples of the black soldiers saluting to the flag of France photo. Okay, on a magazine. Okay, that's a very famous example. Another one is the photos of some male wrestlers and also the roses in Valentine's Day. All those ideas are employed by Roland Barthes to talk to discuss and to review how actually meaning is constructed in our daily life. Okay, a lot of things that got meaning is actually like going through a complicated processes, a very complicated process in which the meaning is like constructed from layer to layer. Okay, that's important. Last week we saw that actually there's a different layers when we study when we really try to unpack what a sign is. Okay, a sign. Okay, a sign is consisted of a signifier on one hand and a signified on the other hand, and a combination of both together. Okay, makes a sign. Okay, so we try to use the concept of a sign and different level because when we combine a signifier and a signified to have a sign, we can use the sign, the new sign that we have just made to act as another signifier, okay, on another level, okay, and then that sign can be a signifier to signify something else, and they together mean to form a new sign, okay, and that's the basic idea. Okay, that's the basic idea. So he uses this model to try to analyze the those examples we use here, and also the example the author uses in the reading. Okay, and all those stuff. Okay, all this stuff is employed by Roland Barthes to talk about myth. Okay, he tried to demyth, okay, demystify all those myths. When he used the idea of myths, he means that myth is something that make a cultural thing seems natural. Okay, it makes something seem to be just like the reality that is unchangeable and universal and absolute. Okay, that is in the order of nature. Okay, and then it has so to speak, ideological functions that will change and limit our ways to see worlds, to see the world, and our way to behave like ourselves. And that kind of meaning is very subtle, that come into our minds without our conscious examination. It's because it's at a higher level of design. Okay, it's not at the first level. The meaning is like on the second, third, or fourth level, and as a result, that's not easily detected by our consciousness, and that's how all those propaganda, all the ideology works. Okay, that's the idea. And then we slowly move to another related topics, that is structuralism. Another idea about concerning how meaning is constructed, especially in our creative industry. Okay, um, it models after linguistic. Okay, the study of language. Um, in particular, they refer a lot to this guy. Okay, Saussure is the so to speak the father of structuralism in the study of language. Okay, but a lot of structuralists try to deploy Saussure's idea to study social phenomena, not limiting to language. Okay, they also try to use that to study something social. Okay, and and that hinges on the debate between old and new criticism, and that's where we ended our discussion last week. Okay, at that time, and also actually nowadays, it's quite common to do a literature critique. Okay, 文學評論. Okay, or a film review, or art critique. That kind of serious discussion and evaluation and on all those creative products. Okay, movie, novels, that kind of stuff. Okay, um, from the angle of the so to speak or criticism. Okay, they think they use traditional metrics to judge a text. For example, is it clear, clarity? Uh, is it a square well with our common sense? Uh, does it show a good taste? Uh, Objectivity? Okay, that kind of idea. Okay, and when they use these criteria to judge a text, the intention of the author is important. They try to find out the intention of the author and to judge, okay, whether it's good or not, okay, using this kind of criteria. Okay, from that perspective, they're free from any ideology, and of course, Roland Barthes was the things. It is just their pretension. Okay, they pretend to be free from any ideology, but it doesn't imply that they are really free from any ideology. Okay, they but thinks that it always presupposes some kind of ideology, in particular the bourgeoisie ideas. Okay, the capitalistic ideas. Okay, ideas concerning the era of capitalism. Okay, it always in support of certain type of like capitalistic spirit. Okay, so what does it mean by common sense? Okay, it is those common senses defined in a capitalistic society. Okay, what does it mean by good taste? Okay, it's the taste determined by the capitalistic society. So in a sense, it doesn't, it's not ideology free. Okay, and maybe in a sense, it's not possible to be totally ideology free. But those guys from old criticism wouldn't say so. They wouldn't admit they are not ideology free. Okay, they just think, okay, it's something universal and natural. So it's the same. So you see, it's the same. It's some kind of cultural product, but they just think these kinds of criteria is something natural. It's always natural. It's of course it's natural to use that kind of idea to judge the text. Okay? That's the feeling of those guys from old criticism. But from Barthes' point of view, it's obviously not a kind of natural stuff. It's something cultural, and you just don't see it. You just don't see it, and regard that as the most natural way to conduct a literature review, a literature critique. Okay? And that's exactly the problem. They don't admit they're actually not totally free from any ideology. Okay, and that turns itself into a myth. Okay, um, and the criticism championed by Roland Barthes is something different. Okay, they will use theoretical tools and step-ons from, for example, Marxism, feminism, post-colonialism, psychoanalysis, etc., consciously and explicitly. Okay, they just use it. Okay, and they will talk to you. They will tell you that they're using that kind of tools and concepts and standpoints. And of course, it presupposes a lot of analysis from this kind of idea. Okay, it presupposes Marxism has a right analysis of a lot of stuff, and then that's why they can use the conceptual tools in Marxism to try to expose the problems or the ideology that is presupposed in a text. Okay, and that's why when if you really study cultural studies in a university, you must do a lot of readings and analysis concerning Marxism, feminism, for post-colonialism, etc., okay, right? I remember one of our fellow students is from cultural study, right? I think you must have read a lot, or at least you must uh, 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 register a lot of courses in which this kinds of idea is like it's like always there. It's not always there. They talk about that kind of stuff because they think it is only possible to really analyze a text, okay, from that perspective using that kind of conceptual tools, okay, and uh, and they want to look at not precisely on the text itself. Okay, maybe you got a text, maybe a movie or novels, but you're not going to like the old criticism's tradition to analyze the text to 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 just judge the text, okay, as an individual work. It is not how new criticism works. New criticism works by looking at the system that is presupposed by an individual work. And that system is normally shared actually by different works. Okay, so the idea is not to focus on an individual work. Okay, an individual work is just the entry, okay, just the entrance through which we can now which the system behind the individual work. And what we are interested in is the system that is presupposed by an individual work. Okay, it shows in a sense, the system is a world view. Okay, it's the world view of of the work. Okay, or maybe it also exposes the system as a world view of the era. Okay, of the period of time in which the work and individual work was born. Okay, and so they are interested in the system behind an individual work instead of the individual work. Okay, what ideology is source. Okay, and then we can have a critique and or criticisms of that system, a discussion on that system. Okay, and that could help us to reshape our worldview to move forward. Okay, actually that's why the idea of Golan Barthes is like very popularly deployed by the cultural uh, study, the cultural study. Okay, it is because um as a discipline, cultural study tries to expose, at least as part of its task, how power operates behind all those texts. Okay, and let us understand the current culture. Okay, have a real understanding, not just at the surface, but behind the scene to see how power operates, and then it gives rise to the products we have in our culture. Okay, so we try to see through the culture how power operates and give rise to our culture, and 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 by analyzing different texts, it is the way to understand our culture and all those structure and mechanism and framework behind all our culture. And that's why textual analysis is very important. Okay, and you see how it connects to Colin Barthes' idea here. Okay. From this perspective, the intention of the author is not important at all. Okay, the intention of the author is not important at all because um, what matters is the system. Okay, they will even say something like sometimes like the author sometimes doesn't even realize the meaning of the text. Okay, the author of course is the creator of the work, but the meaning of the work is not determined by the author. Rather, is determined by the system that is a process behind the work. Okay, and sometimes the author just doesn't really have a clear understanding of the system. Okay, they're just someone who like, okay, I got some ideas and then I create a work. Okay, but the author may not have a clear understanding that the work presupposes a system behind. And after a scientific study through this kind of new criticism, then we can review the system behind with even without the notice of the author. Okay, and that's why the intention of the author is not important. Okay, because because the meaning of a work is not determined by the author, but by the system if it's a process. Okay, so it leads to a discussion on what a system is, on what a structure is. Okay, system and structure here refers to the same thing. Okay, system, structure, is what it presupposes in an individual work. Okay, and this system or this structure give meaning, assign meanings to the work. Okay, or assign meaning to different parts of the work. Okay, let's go back to the model of language again. Okay, it is our starting point. Okay, especially on concerning the structuralist idea, the structuralist analysis. Okay, it refers a lot to the model of language. Okay, so let's get back to language. In linguistics and philosophy of language, there is always a question concerning our linguistic ability. That is how we can understand unlimited possibility of sentence. Okay, if you think about that, that's amazing. Actually, in the in the in our language, actually we can produce unlimited sentences. Okay, okay, there are lots of sentences that might not have been said by anyone in the world in the history. Okay, because the limit the possibility of forming sentences are unlimited. Okay, is unlimited. So you can form a form unlimited possibility of sentences. Okay, words can combine with other words in an unlimited way, okay? And that's why there is unlimited possibility of forming sentences. But the point is, if there is unlimited possibility of forming sentences, how could we as a speaker learn a language at all? You, our limited mind cannot learn something unlimited, right? In a sense. If God, for example, if I told you that there is a language in which there are unlimited, okay, infinite, okay, in 即係無限啦，OK，無限，and in a pool of words that is of the level of infinity, okay, there is unlimited words, infinite words in our unlimited words in our system, then it is impossible to to learn that language, right? Because as a limited mind, we couldn't learn unlimited number of words, okay? It's impossible. But luckily, the number of words in a language is limited. It's always limited. But we can use that limited word pool, okay? The number of words is limited here to to form unlimited possibility of sentences. That's the beauty of language. We just use limited resource, okay? For example, like in Chinese, more or less, I guess, the most common number of words is just like 2,000 or 3,000. Okay, 2,000. Okay, it's limited. Okay, the same as in English, for example, we have a limited list of words. For example, a dictionary is a limit is the list of words that is available in the language. Okay, but we can use that limited piles of words to form unlimited possibility of sentence. Okay, sentence, the possibility of sentence is unlimited, but the number of words is limited, and that's the tricks. And linguistic and the philosophy of language try to account for that phenomenon. How could that be possible? Okay, how could that be possible? Okay, how could we understand all those possible combination of language? Okay, at the beginning of linguistic, um, actually the linguists focus quite a lot on actual speech. Okay, so after I say a sentence, they try to analyze this sentence. Okay, they focus on individual sentences quite a lot. They will analyze the sound of the language, that sentence, the structure of that sentence, the word used in that sentence, for example. So speech analysis, what I say, it's not only like oral speech. It could be a written sentence, of course. But you understand my idea. Speech is an actual use of a sentence. Okay, the actual use of a sentence in French. Okay, because it's developed by Saussure. Okay, a French guy. This one, the father of structuralism. They call it la parole. Okay, actual use of a sentence. Okay, in English they usually translate it as speech, la parole. And but later on, after Saussure's, um, the linguist started to think we shouldn't focus on the level of speech. Okay, not we shouldn't focus on la parole. We should move to something behind. That is the language system itself. Okay, there is a language system presupposed in our any particular use of speech. Okay, and they call the system la langue. La langue. Okay, la langue. This is the French word of the language system. La langue. Okay, la langue. So the focus shifts to la langue, the system. Okay. They think that we have a system of signs before any actual speech. Okay, let's have an example. Okay, for example, this sentence. He is a very smart guy. Okay, he is a very smart guy. Okay, of course it's a like common common sentence, okay? And the linguist at the beginning will start to analyze this sentence, okay? The structure, the sound of this sentence, blah, 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 okay? But we can ask some questions, but we see that there are different types of relationships between the words here, between words, okay? Saussure identified two of them, two different relations between words. The first one we call the syntagmatic relation, and the second one we call the paradigmatic relation. Syntagmatic relation is just a horizontal relation between different words in one sentence. For example, in this sentence, he is a very smart guy. He is a very smart guy. And within that sentence, we can see he is connected to is, and is connected to a very smart guy. Okay, there are relationship between these words in this sentence. Okay, and so we can analyze why is here. Okay, and how that kind of words connected to the words beside or horizontally, okay, in one sentence. But it is not the most important relation. And if we want to study the language system, okay, la langue, this one, la langue, behind the speech, we should focus on the paradigmatic relations. Okay, it's so to speak a vertical relation. Okay, of course it's strange, vertical relation. What does it mean by vertical relation? Okay, I can understand what does it mean by horizontal relation. Like when you hear this one is okay, it is horizontal. But what does it mean by paradigmatic as a vertical relation? Okay, for example, English is written horizontally, right? Unlike Chinese, which is traditionally written vertically. So where is the vertical relation? Okay, the idea is here. It's like this. For example, here we use the word smart, right? He is a very smart guy. We can, of course, we can ask, okay, we can talk about some horizontal relations. Okay, if this is one is guy, should we use what we use smart in certain form, for example. Okay, it makes sense. But when we talk about horizontal relation, we are talking about the choice of words, the decision of use a particular word and not other words that could possibly be employed here. For example, we can see such a list. Okay, the word smart is also like has similar meaning to the following. For example, clever, intelligent, talented, wise, etc., etc. Okay, there is a whole list, okay, of words that have some overlapping meanings with the word smart. Okay, so we can substitute the word smart here by other word like clever, like intelligent, like wise. Okay, he is a very clever guy. Okay, it makes sense, right? He is a very intelligent guy. He is a very wise guy. Okay, all those ideas, all those words can also be deployed here to substitute the word smart. Right? Actually, the same for guy, for the word guy. We can substitute the word guy here. He is a very smart man, for example. He is a very smart person. He is a very smart, I don't know, but you see the idea. We can replace the word with other word, actually. But why? And that is the vertical relation between words, okay? Some words that we actually used and some words that we could use but we didn't use. Okay, and why is this relations, paradigmatic relation, important in our study of language? The idea is because it reveals the system behind an actual sentence. Okay, if we focus on that actual sentence, then we are focusing on the level of speech. Okay, la parole. But Saussure and the scholars after Saussure thinks that we need to review the system. Okay, la langue behind the actual speech. Okay, so by focusing on the vertical relations, we have to ask the questions how how this works. Okay, smart, clever, intelligent, talented, wise, etc. How are these words related in terms of meaning? Okay, actually they form a circle in our system. They are related. They form some contrast. Okay, you can someone is smart but not wise, and someone is wise but not smart. Okay, they define each other. If if we just have a word smart in our language and we don't have clever, intelligent, talented, wise, okay, this kind of words in our language system, then actually it's not quite sure what it means by smart. Okay, what is the boundary of smart? Okay, so so we say someone is smart. Okay, it's it's difficult. Okay, only after we have a whole list of words that is related in meaning, then they will contrast each other. Okay, so by saying someone is smart and not wise, someone is smart but not clever, someone is smart but not intelligent, we define the boundary of the word smart. Okay, smart is not everything. It has a boundary, and the boundary is consistent. It is consist of the relationship with other words. Okay, by saying someone is smart or not clever, we set a boundary of what smartness is. Okay, how it differs from the notion of cleverness. Okay, we set the boundary, and we set the boundary by using different contrasts between words. Okay, so that's why we use smart but not clever or intelligent here. Okay, we use the word guy the same. Guy and man and boy and person are different concepts, but related in terms of meaning. Okay, so the meaning of the word guy here is determined by the contrast between between the meanings of guy and the meaning of other words like man, boy, lad, I don't know, okay, person, that kind of words. Okay, we have a contrast between different words. Okay, and by having that kind of contrast, okay, we set the boundary of a word and then we define the meaning of a word. Okay, that's the idea, and that's why paradigmatic relationship is important because it shows the system. Why we use this word here instead of another to describe the situation. Okay, and by having that kind of like system, okay, we define the meaning of all those words. Okay, so when you learn a new language, actually you are learning that language system. Okay, so a language system is consists of a lot of different words, and not just a list of words, but also the relationship and contrast, okay, among different words within the list of the language. Okay, they have relationship, not just contrast, and sometimes they're related, right? For example, paper and pen. Okay, these two words are related also in the system because they always work together. Okay, but sometimes it's opposite, right? For example, like clever and stupid. Okay, okay. Um, let's say okay, beautiful and ugly. Okay, sometimes the words are contrast each other, have opposite meaning. Sometimes they work together, like pen and paper. Okay, and sometimes they have related overlapping meaning, but they are not the same. Like the idea I use here. smart and clever and intelligent and wise. Okay, they're related and overlap sometimes, but they are just different. Okay, and a language system consists of all those words and all those relationships between words, and we have to between words, and we have to learn the language. Okay, we have to if we have to learn the language, we got to learn all those relations. Okay? If you don't see the meanings, the contrast of meaning between smart and clever and wise, for example, then you don't learn the language good enough, okay, to a good enough level, okay, and that is the system. So at the end of the day, why we can have the unlimited possibility of language sentence, but just a small amount of words, is because we have that system behind all those speech, behind all those actual speech. Okay, that system that define the meaning of words and define the relationship between different words. Okay, is limited in a sense. We can learn that system, but that system can help us to combine words in unlimited way, and that give rise to unlimited possibility of sentences. Okay, and that's why we should not stop at the level of speech. Okay, la parole. We should move on to the system behind la langue, la langue, la langue, and that's what Saussure say the starting point of general linguistics. Okay, from this perspective, okay, we will see the position of a word in the language system, la langue, determines the meaning of the word. Okay, the meaning of the word is not determined by individually. Okay, sometimes we think that our word's meaning is self-contained. Sometimes we think so. For example, when I use the word apple, what does it mean? Well, it just means those red round fruit. Okay, that a lot of people eat every day. Okay, it seems we have the idea that the word apple is paired up with those kind of apples, and then the word refer to that apple, that kind of fruit, and then we have just determined the meaning of the word apple. But actually, it's not the case, or the case is not that simple, because when we use the word apple, the meaning must be determined by referring to the language system first. Okay, for example, we can Apple got the red version and the green version, right? We got red apple and green apple, right? When we start a new language and try to define the concept of apple, if I just say, oh, the red apple referring to this kind of stuff, right? This kind of fruit, then 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 you got to ask where is the boundary, right? You can point to a red apple and say, okay, the word apple refers to this kind of fruit. But then you got to ask, this kind of food, how should we define this kind of food? Do you only mean red apple, or you mean all apples, including the green one, or you mean all the fruits? Okay, when you point to a red apple, it is difficult to say what do you mean by this kind of fruits. Okay, when you say this is apple, 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 it's not clear what the boundary is. Okay, when you say this is apple, do you just mean we name red apple as apple, or do you mean we name all the apples as apple, or do you mean all those fruits, all fruits are apples? Okay, the meaning of the word apple has not yet been determined by pointing to a red apple and say this is apple. The boundary of the word apple is set only by referring to other words. For example, if you see a green apple, you got to ask someone, oh, is it apple? And then you say yes. Oh, then we understand. Okay, green apple is also included. But when you see other fruits, for example, when you see an orange, and ask, okay, is it an apple? You say no, it's not an apple. It's an orange. But then because of the contrast of meaning of orange and apple, these two words, then you set a boundary for the word apple, okay, for the word apple. It doesn't refer to that kind of orange fruit, okay? Though the fruit in orange. No, it's not an apple. Okay. So the meaning of apple is constructed by that kind of contrast between different words. Okay. So the language system is the most fundamental and primordial stuff element in language. Without that system, we don't have language. Okay, we don't understand language. And in this sense, our word's meaning is not self-contained. It's not self-contained. It must refer to the whole system of language that includes other elements, other words. Okay, and that's why it's called structuralism. Okay, because the structure is more fundamental and primordial than an individual word. Okay. So I haven't talked about a language. We move on to talk about narratives. Okay, narratives. Golan Barthes thinks, and that he uses some theoretical tools from other theorists. Okay, there are three levels of analysis of a story. Okay, narrative is just a story. Okay, story is a narrative. So you see in Cantonese. Okay, we talk about how a story goes. Okay, narratives. So at the first level, we have a pool of possible functions. Okay, when you see a movie or a story, okay, you can analyze the elements within a story. Okay, to try to abstract all those elements out from a story. Okay, and the more in the smallest okay element of a story is what Golan Barthes here called a function. A function. Okay, a function is there are two types of function. The first one is some he calls the distributive functions. Okay, that has a cause and effect logic. Okay, for example, telephone ringing in a story. Okay, it will have a cause and effect logic. Like when the telephone rings, then someone got to go and pick up the phone. Okay, when someone so it caused something else. Okay, and it's also an effect of some other cause. Like when I call, then a telephone rings at the opposite end. Okay, so telephone ringing as an event is a function here. Okay, the for example, the lighting of a cigarette. Okay, okay, they try to light up a cigarette. Okay, it's just a very small, the smallest actually here of event. Okay, of event, and that is another kind of functions. He calls it the indices. Okay, so it's not the distributive function. Its difference with distributive function is that it no longer shows the cause and effect logic. It's not trying to have a cause and effect logic in the story. It helps us to show, for example, the character of a character. Okay, for example, when you looked the in the story, maybe someone looked the color of a character's hair. Okay, it shows a lot, right? If for example in Chinese culture, if the the hair is black, has a different meaning to someone who dyed their hair and make it like brown or gold in color. Okay, if it's gold in color, it's like just like what, very very just a strict boy. Okay, or if you just dye it as some brown color, then maybe you think is someone who loves to be care his or her appearance. Okay, so the color of a character's hair is important to show the character of a character. Okay, or maybe the fact that it suddenly begins to rain when a particular character enters the street, it shows the importance of the specialty, the special status of the character. And that kind of event happened in a story, in a narrative, shows the character of a character, for example. And that's not a cause and effect logic in the sense that it doesn't cause the character. Okay, it just shows the character. The character is contributed and like constructed through this kind of indices. Okay, and that's the first level functions. Okay, so function is the smallest events. Okay, event unit in a narrative or in a story, and then we can combine different this kind of like functions into actions. Okay, we can combine different distributed functions, okay, that has cause and effect logic to form a long narratives. Okay, someone called one function and the telephone ring and other functions, and then pick up the call, the third function, and then they have a dialogue, the fourth function, and blah blah. So we can combine different functions to form a larger narratives, a story of medium size. But we can also combine different indexes, okay, also a kind of functions. We combine different indexes to form the character of a character. Okay. If we want to describe someone who cares about, for example, their study but not their appearance, we can show a lot of different. We can use a lot of different events, okay, different functions to show that. Like he doesn't take a bath for quite some time. Um, his shirt are very dirty. His trousers never change. Always the same trousers for a lot of days. Uh, 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 he just he wear a pair of thick glasses that is ugly, and like sort kind of dirty. A lot of oil stinks dirt on the glasses, for example. Okay, all those different description is a small functions. They also show a character. Okay. And when all those functions point to the same direction, we collect them together and call it an actions. Okay. An action. And that can show the character of a character. Okay. And when we combine different action together, then we will have the whole narratives, the entire story. Okay. That's the that's the complete picture. And we can use this kind of so you see this analysis is similar to right, the study of a language system, because there's a pool of possible functions. Okay, the pool of possible functions is actually limited. Okay, but they form different actions and different narratives when we combine them in different ways. Okay, so the fundamental system of functions is already there. When we analyze a story, a narrative, we can break it down into the smallest eventful functions. Okay, and all those functions are actually limited in number. Okay, that's the idea. We get just a limited pool of functions, but then we can combine them in different ways and talk about different actions and narratives. Okay, and talk an unlimited amount of story. And of course, those functions is just not a list, just like language. They have different relation with one another. Okay, okay, they got different relation. So when we studied narratives, we got to study the function, and that's what new criticism do. That's in textual analysis. They try to dig into the system that they're using, and that's what the system that I call a system. Okay, a pool of possible functions. Okay, that will then combine to form actions and narratives. Okay? And a lot of structuralists use that idea to on the study of folk tales, for example. Okay, like one of the most famous guy is Levi Strauss. Levi Strauss. Levi Strauss is also a French guy, an anthropologist. Okay, 人类学家. Okay, 人类学家. Okay, Levi Strauss, and he studied myth. Okay, the myth here the myth here he's talking about is really concerning those story of gods. Okay, unnatural things. Okay, myth, 神话, and he tried to take out the fundamental units of meme, and he called it the meme theme. Okay, mything is the fundamental element of a myth, and that is actually the functions. Okay, that's function actually. That's functions. Okay, they try to lay out the function and the structure behind all those myths in the past. Okay, for the primitive peoples, and he tried to show that actually, no matter you are primitive people or modern man, okay, you still use the same kind of method. That is the same kind of function to represent the world, to talk about, to tell a story. Okay, that kind of fundamental element is just the same. And why Golan Barthes does this? Okay, why he did all this study? He tried to show he want to counter an idea in literature. Of in literature or in art, there is always a kind of school of thoughts that is called realism. Realism, 寫實主義. Okay, 寫實主義. Realism. And realism, for those advocates of realism, they always think their literature, their novels, or their artwork depict or represent the reality directly. And that's why they are called, or they call themselves realism. Okay, realist, because they think their work or their literature depicts and describes the reality directly. Okay, and that's why it's natural. It's the real world. Come on, it's the reality. You got to listen to me. That's what they're thinking about. But for Golan Barthes, he thinks they are not clean and they are not that neutral, because they, after all this analysis, Barthes tries to show that all storytelling, no matter you are realism or romanticism, must tell a story by a detour. Okay, a detour. A detour means a way, another road. That is more like, it's not direct. Okay, that's not direct. By detour, not direct road through our narrative system. Okay, it must first go into our narrative system, and then you tell a story. You never tell a story directly. You never say something directly without referring to our narrative system. If you have to go through our narrative system first, and then depict the, so to speak, reality in second, then you are not really depicting the reality directly. You must use all those narrative elements, namely functions, okay, to conduct your narrative, and that limits the possibility. Okay, so the, so to speak, the so to speak reality is also man-made in this sense. Okay, it's made by the narrative system. Okay, we shouldn't think it is natural. Okay, we have to demyth the myths. Okay, don't think that it is natural, and that's the idea. Because for realists, because they think they depict the reality directly, and so they think that, okay, we are talking about something totally natural, totally objective, and you got to listen to me because I'm talking about something totally objective here. But Golan Barthes just thinks, no, they try to incorporate a lot of different ideology within their work, but they don't know that. They think that it is neutral. It is ideology free. Okay, that's objective. But for Barthes, actually, a lot of it is just some bourgeoisie or capitalistic ideology that is regarded as the reality by the realist. Okay, and so he wants to show that it's not something totally objective. It's constructed and limited by our narrative system. Okay, that's the idea. So that's why we have to study the system behind the scene, behind all those individual work. Okay, because we have to show that the work is not something completely objective. Okay, and completely neutral. We have to ask what values or what ideology it presupposes behind the scene. Okay, and then we can demyth the myths. We never we won't think it is completely neutral again. We will think it is just something cultural, and just pretended in a natural shape of light. Okay, a natural shape of light. No, it's not natural at all. Then we can lose ourselves from the grasp of this kind of literature or realist idea. Okay, it is always through a narrative system. Okay, the narrative system is always here. Okay, and we try to they don't think about all those stuff as completely neutral. Okay, that's the so that completes the discussion of Holland Barthes in our course. Okay, a little bit of a run for the first half of our lecture, but luckily we complete the discussion on Holland Barthes. Okay, so maybe we take a why don't we take a break for 10 minutes first, and we come back to talk about a new topic. Okay, and so I help you. I hope you see the importance of Holland Barthes. Okay, I hope you see the importance of Holland Barthes. Okay, because it let us have a new way to see all those products in our lives. Okay, in our ordinary lives. Okay, we got a lot of like products that have meanings in our lives, and then we after the discussion of but I hope you see how all those products works. Okay, uh, okay, the system behind the scene, the different levels of science. Okay, how they pretend to be lateral, but actually they're just cultural. Okay, that's the tricks. So I will upload this looks okay on the Moodle in the break, and we let's take a 10 minutes break and come back to have a little discussion. Okay. Okay, so let's come back to our lecture. Okay, let's come back to our lecture. And this the is the sound okay, right? The sound is okay, right? Okay, so
Yes.
the new topic will be a related very related topic to your group project. Okay, because the what have been taught in our course until now concerns about how we can analyze for example a text, and how we can conceptualize creativity or creative thinking, to put creative thinking into a larger context. Okay, to see how things happen or how things occur behind the scene of creative thinking. But we haven't point to like uh, 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 the actual operation of creative industry or cultural industry. Okay, although we have already some hints concerning what cultural industry could be. Okay, but we haven't had a very direct discussion on that. Okay, and the coming topic, topic six, we are going to talk about we are going to talk about that that problem directly, concerning cultural industry, how it operates, of course still at an theoretical level. Okay, but we move our concern to 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 the theoretical analysis of cultural industry, in particular under a capitalistic society like ours. Okay, the central question for the common topic is like, can cultural industry or can an work be and emancipating within the capitalistic society. Okay, is it possible? Okay, and actually, it is a huge it was a debate between two very famous theorists, Walter Benjamin. Let me show you this here. Okay, so so we're going to talk about these two guys, Benjamin and Adorno. Okay, uh, I always say try to pronounce his name as Benjamin instead of Benjamin. Okay, of course you can call him Benjamin. These two are German guy. Okay, these two are German guys, and as a convention, normally we'll speak of his name in German. Okay, and in German this is called Benjamin. Okay, instead of Benjamin. So so in Cantonese or in Chinese, the translation of Benjamin is like Wen Aming. Okay, a very commonly seen name on newspaper. Okay, when we have some cultural critique or like discussion on cultural issue. Okay, Benjamin, Wen Aming. Okay, Benjamin. Okay, a very famous name among cultural speakers. Okay, of course, Adorno in a sense is even more famous, but his study is more academic. Okay, so maybe Adorno will usually be regarded as a greater scholars, but Benjamin is more famous among the cultural spheres. Okay, outside of the scholastic circles. Okay, but so let me talk about some some general background first. Okay, so Marxist was an idea developed by Karl Marx, of course, in the 19th century. Okay, in Germany and in Britain. Okay, but uh, Marxist has a very like strict idea concerning the process of liberation. Okay, there are strictly speaking only two classes, and 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 one is the class who own the means of production. Okay, who control all the resource that we use to produce. Okay, and those people who don't, and that divide our society into two classes. Okay, bourgeoisie and in the proletariat. OK in Canton in Chinese 就係有產階級、無產階級，或者資本家同埋無產階級。OK 資本家跟無產階級。OK two different classes and that kind of new development that kind of idea of Marxism is a very prevalent ideas in the left. Okay in the left camp. Okay but later on, a lot of different people who were inspired by Karl Marx, but didn't follow, strictly speaking, the Marxist idea. Okay, then they have a lot of different new discussion and new theories concerning how emancipation and liberation should be done. Okay, they're strictly speaking not Marxist. Okay, but they are sometimes they were also called Marxist, but they're strictly speaking not Marxist because they didn't follow Marx so closely that deserve to be called a Marxist. Okay, but they are still in the generally speaking the left camp of the discussion. Okay, a lot of their ideas are inspired by by Marx by Marx. Okay, so they have some Marxist like shadow here, but they are not exactly Marxist. Okay, and one of the most but the common the shared concern the shared concern of this guy with other Marxists is that they also focus on the problem of capitalistic society. Okay, what capitalism is problematic. They're shared ideas. Okay, they're shared thought. Capitalism is problematic. It causes exploitation, more so. Okay, exploitation. It causes a lot of problems, especially for workers, but not only for workers. Um, even you are the rich people, capitalism also limit your possibility and also make you in competition with other rich men, other capitalists, and so you have you have no choice but to exploit the workers 你冇得揀，你只可以剝削啲資本家，係啲工人。Okay, you got no choice but to exploit those workers. Okay, this is the only way to go. And then 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 it comes to the conclusion that capitalism must be changed either by revolution, okay, which is advocated by Karl Marx, or by other means. Okay, maybe someone will say we can change society bit by bit. Okay, maybe we got to have like we can use democracy to change it, or use other methods to change the society, have some systematic improvement. Okay, and so that's why they're not strictly speaking Marxists, because maybe they won't support that there must be a revolution to overturn capitalistic society in one day. Okay, they may have either idea. Okay, but generally speaking, they are inspired by Karl Marx. Okay, so the most famous one in the left camp is what we named the Frankfurt School. Okay, Frankfurt School, Frankfurter Schulen. Okay, Frankfurter Schulen in German. Okay, Frankfurt School, Frankfurt School, and Frankfurter Schule in German. This school, all because they try to use a lot of different theory in social science, in philosophy, in cultural studies, in a lot of different. They just don't have a clear distinguishment between different things. They they follow Marx's idea that the 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 important point to study the society is not to interpret the society, is not to understand the society, but to change the society. Okay, that is their common concern. Okay, and that's why the Frankfurt School is also called the theory they hold is called the critical theory. Okay, so they basically they refer to the same thing, like the same groups of people. Okay, Frankfurt School and critical theory or critical theorist. Okay, they refer to some particular set of group of people, some particular set of scholars who think that the point is to change the society by doing by studying the society, and they have a special critique on capitalism. But their concern is wider than traditional Marxists, because traditionally speaking, Marxists think artwork, okay, maybe is helpful, cultural industry is helpful, but it's not the most important pivot in our revolution. Okay, but this guy from Frankfurt School didn't think so. They think maybe a study of our culture or cultural industry is important. Okay, so they have a lot of different discussion and study on our cultural industry, and that give some very important insight to us. Okay, the most famous big three, okay, of Frankfurt School is Horkheimer, okay, the leader of the school, okay, and also Adorno and Marcuse, okay. They flee to the United States after in Second World War, okay, They rebuilt their Frankfurt School in not in Frankfurt but in the United States, okay. And later on, some other famous guy comes like Habermas, very famous one, the current leader of Frankfurt School, and Honeth, okay, another famous guy, okay, and here Eric Fromm and Walter Benjamin is also related personality to to Frankfurt School. Sometimes they are not regarded as the proper member of Frankfurt School, but those guys they're the friends of Frankfurt School, so to speak. Okay, They are also important. They have important contribution to critical theory, but sometimes they are not regarded as proper member of Frankfurt School, but sometimes they are regarded as members of Frankfurt School. So it depends on the context. Okay, but anyway, they think about they have shared concern. Okay, among these guys. Okay, so no matter they are proper members of Frankfurt School, okay, they have shared concern on like capitalism. And there is a debate. There's a debate between Benjamin and Adorno. Okay, I hit a debate between them. What's the debate? Okay, what is the debate about? Okay, Walter Benjamin, Walter Benjamin thinks he wrote a very famous article. Okay, the work of art in the age of mechanical reproduction. Okay, the work of art in the age of mechanical reproduction in 1935. In 1935. Okay, the basic question is like this: can art be emancipating and liberating? Okay, can art brings us freedom? Can art make us free? It's not about individual freedom. It's about the freedom of the society. Okay, can people in the society be free by artwork? Okay, what role an artwork and a piece of artwork can play? Okay, that's the questions. Okay, and so we have to talk about the idea of emancipation. Okay, liberation from the left perspective. Okay, they think that there is some kind of class struggle or class conflict. Okay, in a capitalistic society. Okay, as I mentioned, different classes will have different interests. Okay, they have to share among themselves the rewards of production. Okay, after production, we have to ask the question: how should we distribute among different people? Okay, among different classes. Okay, and different classes of people do have different interests, so they have class conflict. And when they try to maximize the interests of their class and of themselves, then we have a struggle, right? Some conflict, and we have struggle. Okay, so we have class struggle. Okay, and this is a problem concerning distributive justice. Okay, distributive justice. Okay, how what should be the just way? Okay, just means 公义, okay, reasonable. Okay, makes sense. Okay, what is the most sensible way, what's the most just way to distribute the product of our production among different classes, among different people. Okay? What should be the just way to distribute the resource of our society? Okay, and because the rich people, the capitalists, do have more power in our society, right? Of course, the rich guys have more power, and so they will try to exploit. Okay, more exploitation, exploit the workers of our society. Okay, they'll try to earn more and more from the workers. Okay, and that lead to a very poor living of the workers. Okay, so what should be done? Okay, the way to go is to let the workers come together, because the rich guy are more powerful, because they got more resource, they got more money, they own the means of production. But at the same time, the workers have advantage in terms of lumber. Okay, there are much more workers in the society than rich people, than capitalists, right? So the idea is we should make the workers be aware that they are of the same class. Okay, the workers might not have any awareness about that. Okay, they sometimes they will compete with each other as well. When they compete for job positions, when they compete for lots of things. Okay, when they are compete for the admiration of the capitalist. Okay, they might not they might not be aware of the fact that they are of the same class and they have some shared interest. So the idea is, if we want to have emancipation, okay, to let the worker not to let the worker be free, then the first step is to let them be aware of the fact that they're of the same class and they have some shared common interest. And in order to do so, we have to have some class consciousness. Okay, that is that means the fact that they are aware of the fact that they are of the same class. Okay, that's what we call class consciousness. And after they they realize they are of the same class, then they will try to strike for their common interest, to have some revolution or some systematic change of the system. And that's what we call the class awakening. Okay, they're suddenly aware of, they suddenly realize that they are of the same class. Okay, class awakening to have class consciousness. Okay, and then traditionally they think they will have some workers' revolution, but later on some other new left will think that maybe we don't need a revolution, but a gradual improvement of our system. Okay, by like democracy, by a lot of different methods. Okay, but then we have a question here. Okay, what role artwork can play in this process, in the process of class struggle, in the process of class awakening, and in the process of gradual systematic improvement? What role a piece of artwork can play? Okay. In a sense, and artwork could be very powerful because it always let us see things from new perspective and shed new light to old stuff. Okay, so maybe in the past, as a worker, I didn't realize it is problematic that the rich people, the capitalists, can exploit on us. You just don't think it's an exploitation. You just don't see it as a problem. You think, oh, it's okay, no problem, blah, blah, blah. You just don't see a problem. But artwork, by bringing you to a new position to feel the problem of the society, then can make you see things from new perspective and make us understand that, for example, capitalistic society is problematic. Okay, there is a lot of bourgeoisie, the capitalist idea presupposed in our worldview, and artwork can reveal all those problems to us. Okay, it's not just telling you that that is such kind of problem, but to make you feel the problem from the first person point of view, to feel it, not to know it, not to hear about it, not to talk about it, but to feel it. And that is important because when you're feeling something, then you are easily be moved by that something. Okay, you get some emotional push, some emotional uh, uh, um, motivation. Okay, when you have that kind of emotion and feeling, and that's why artwork is more important because it forces you to see things from new perspective. So it's very powerful, and of course, that is helpful in terms of this. Okay, creating a fairer and a more liberating society. But there is also a problem of artwork. The problem is artwork, traditionally speaking, is very individualistic. Very individualistic. It means, for example, like you got a painting, you can just watch a painting by your own or among your friends. Okay, in the past, if you own a painting, then you see it in your house or maybe in your gallery, and then some of your friends also see it. But it's not something public. It's not something public. Okay, so it's very important to have museum. Okay, it's also a related topic, but we may not have time to talk about that in this lesson. Okay, museum. Okay, because it help to publicize artwork. Okay, but in the past, a piece of artwork is owned by a rich guy. Actually, in a lot of cases, the artwork is commissioned by the rich guys. Okay, uh, the rich guy pay the artist and tell him or her to draw to make our artwork for him or for her. Okay, so in this sense, it's very individualistic. It's not enjoyable, but by a large amount of people together. No, it's not. It's not possible. It's only possible to be seen by a small amount of people, and even worse, poor people have fundamentally no chance to see those artwork, to appreciate those artwork. Okay, for us, it seems easy to see a painting, a good painting, to listen to good music, to watch a good movie. It's not that difficult. But imagine you are a farmers in 19th century or in 18th century. You just got no chance to see a real good painting in your entire life, right? You just got no chance to listen to proper music in your entire life because even the musician is employed by the rich people. Okay, you got no chance to hear, to get in the concert house. Okay, so it's not maybe it got potentials. Okay, in terms of liberation, but it's just potential. Okay, it's not easy. Okay, but then there is some chance and opportunities because of technological advancement. Okay, that can be mechanical reproduction of artwork. Okay, and that's why the famous article is called by Walter Benjamin is called "The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction." Actually, Benjamin will see the possibility of mechanical reproduction of a work of art as an opportunity for liberation. Okay, um, at his time, we start to have uh, the technology to make films and movies. Okay, and then we can and also photography. Okay, and photos. Okay, or photos. Okay, so you see this kind of, so to speak, artwork is different to the artwork in the past because the artwork in the past is not reproducible. You cannot copy a painting and then make a new artwork, and it's not the same one, right? The artwork is there, okay? Mona Lisa, let's say Mona Lisa. After you copy it, it's not Mona Lisa anymore. It's maybe it's something fake, or even though maybe some artist intentionally copy Mona Lisa to have a new artwork, but that is a new artwork. It's not Mona Lisa anymore, right? In the past, it's not, so to speak, reproducible. When you copy it, then it's not the same thing. Okay? But now, when we enter into the mechanical era, we have some new forms of our work, like photos, okay, photography, like films and movie. Okay? In this sense, because it's mechanical, it can copy it it can copy to different places, right? Like for example, when you can see a movie in Hong Kong or in Europe, in Africa, they're the same movie, right? The same movie, just the same movie. It can be reproduced mechanically. Okay, someone will say photo is the same, but it depends. Okay, but at least it's possible to, like, after you take a photo, and if you are not going to do any other editing, then you can copy the same thing, right, to different places. Actually, with the help of internet and computer, it's even more crazy, right? You can, after doing photo editing, you can just send the soft copy to a lot of different places. There are lots of different people, okay? But there is no, so to speak, the original copy of the movie or of the photos. They, at the beginning, they are already soft copies, okay? So in this era, we have a new possibility, okay? That is, we can have a lot of copies of one movie, for example, and that that makes artwork much more cheaper than in the past. Okay, you don't need to hire a painter, you don't need to commission a musician a composer to make your music. Okay, we can just have a lot of copies, and that become much cheaper, and that can be watched together by a large amount of people. And we can ask, then is it an opportunity for us? Because if a lot of people can watch it and they can watch it together, that help consolidate their class consciousness, and the content of the movie can have a much wider effect in the society, because much more people could have watched it than other artwork than before, right? So the problem comes in the mechanical reproduction era is artwork suddenly become much more promising in terms of this, okay, liberating process. Okay, what role and a piece of art can play here. Okay, here I try to lay the foundation for the discussion, okay, in this lecture. So in next Wednesday we will further this discussion, okay. And on Friday, we are going to read a small piece of article concerning Walter Benjamin. Okay, I will post it onto Moodle this week, today. Okay. So meet you guys on Friday. Okay, and we will have our tutorial on 3:30. Okay, it changed back to 3:30. 3:30. Okay, 3:30. Okay, so we'll have our discussion on 3:30. Oh, so let's meet again on Friday and next Wednesday. Okay, see you guys.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.